Alright, everybody, peace. Welcome to the GSMC College Football Podcast show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As you guys know, I'm your host, Sean Cottle, and we've got a wonderful show in store for you today, guys. We are going to be discussing some news revolving around the NCAA and some changes they're making to the transfer portal rule. Changes they're making to that. We will also be discussing the rise of University of Washington and why no one seems to be talking about them. And we will also be showcasing in our everyone's favorite segment, the way too early Heisman list. We might have a surprise. We might have a new number one. Who knows? We might. That remains to be seen. You guys are going to have to stick around throughout the show to see that, to find out for yourselves about that. But before we get into any of that, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in GSMC Sports Network. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker. It's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network /tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network /tip. None of this is possible without you guys, the fans. So it's such an honor and privilege to have this platform and share with you guys my thoughts and insight on the world of college football. So, that being said, why don't we go ahead and get right into it, huh, guys? So, as I just stated, the NCAA has implemented some new rules in regards to the transfer portal and the number of roster spots for college football. But let's start with the changes made to the transfer portal. So the NCAA today actually implemented a new rule that limits the window for athletes to enter the transfer portal. And as we dive into that rule, I'll just read a little bit from this article on ESPN by Tom Van Haren. The NCAA Division I Council approved changes to the transfer portal windows that will shrink the number of days for student athletes to enter their name in the portal. The rule change will impact all sports and give players 45 total days throughout the year to enter their names into the transfer portal. Each sport will have 45 total days, but it will be divided differently by sport. For example, before this rule change, the window for football would open the day after the college football playoff teams are announced, which was December 4th in 2022, last year, and would stay open for 45 days. The next period would open April 15th to April 30th, which will remain the same with the new change. That window from April 15th to April 30th, that will remain the same. Under the new rule, however, there will be a 30-day window after the 30 season and 15 days in the spring. In FBS and FCS football, the new 30-day window will begin the Monday after the FBS Conference Championship games. Any student athlete competing in the college football playoff will also be given an additional 5-day transfer window in January, while the second window will occur during the second half in April. For men's and women's basketball, a 45-day window opens the Monday after Selection Sunday. The Division I Council had proposed changes to the portal in January that would have seen a reduction from 60 total days to 30 but voted Tuesday to instead shrink the window to 45 days. This does not impact when a student athlete can transfer, only when they can enter their name in the NCAA database to transfer without penalty. Graduate transfers will now have a notification of transfer deadline of May 1st for fall and winter sports. Now that's huge. That is huge. And winter sports, for fall and winter sports, and July 1st for spring sports for all grad transfers entering for the first time. Now that is huge. That right there for grad transfers will be huge because that limits the time you get to make a decision on where you'll be transferring tremendously. Most people are still on campus. May 1st, I was still on campus. There was only one instance where I was back home before May, and that was my junior year. And I got home on the 30th, barely before April. But so these rules are the reason they are limiting this rule has to do with because the rule was implemented partly because of COVID. But let's look at the other rule change that the NCAA brought in, and this one is going to be specifically pertaining to football. So the NCAA Divisional Council approved a new rule change Wednesday that will eliminate the initial counter limit for both FBS and FCS schools, which means that prior to the rule change, FBS programs were limited to 25 initial counters per year, which means that each program could bring in 25 total players each new year. 25 new players for football. Mind you have to remember guys transfer, guys graduate, etc. That total includes high school prospects and transfers, and coaches were limited to 25 even if they were below the total scholarship limit of 85 the previous season. So this means it will be much more competitive, the roster spots now for NCAA individual programs, because basically now you're saying, you can only bring in 25 new guys to your team every year, whether they be transfers or freshmen. This highly favors the transfers because coaches want to win right away. Their jobs are on the line as well, especially with the new NIL deals. You say, okay, let's get these transfers in so we can win right away. So that's who this benefits the most. But I just wanted to read off those rule changes for you guys, and let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about these rule changes? Do you like them? Not a fan of them? Let me know what you guys think. Share your thoughts in the chat room. But in our next segment, guys, we will be discussing the way too early Heisman list. Guys' favorite segment of the week. We might have a new number one, but stay tuned to find out. We'll be covering all of that and then some. All right. Alright, welcome back. In case you missed the first segment of our show, we just discussed the recent rule changes that the NCAA implemented in regards to the transfer portal and the number of roster spots that the Division I programs and college football specifically can give out each year. And be sure to stick around for the end of our show, guys, where we'll be discussing whether Washington is legitimate when it comes to the college football playoff race. But with this segment, guys, we will be discussing our favorite topic of the week, the way too early Heisman list. Yes, I know how much you guys enjoy the way too early Heisman list, and it is Wednesday, so it is once again time to reveal it. As you guys know, we go from 4 or 5, depending on the week, and work our way up to number 1. So this week we have 4 on the list, and we'll move up to 1. So starting at number 4, we have Bo Nix of Oregon. As you guys know, Bo Nix made his debut on the way too early Heisman list 2 weeks ago after his performance against Colorado, and Oregon is currently ranked number 8 in the nation. And listen, Bo Nix has performed above my expectations. He's performing very well this season. He still has yet to face a commensurate defense, in my opinion, and I would love to see how he squares off against Oregon State when they match up later on in the year. That'll say more about Oregon, in my opinion. So I have Bo Nix here in at number 4, and I have at number 3 Jordan Travis of Florida State. As you guys know, Florida State is currently ranked number 4 or number 5, depending on what poll you want to look at. But Jordan Travis has been consistent throughout the year. He has continued to build off his dominating performance in the opening weekend against LSU. He carried carried Florida State in a close game over Clemson. Florida State is in prime position to win the ACC. If Florida State can go undefeated, that can almost guarantee and win the ACC championship. That can almost guarantee them a spot in the college football playoff, pending the circumstances of obviously the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the SEC. Gosh, now the college football playoff committee is going to have something on their hands this season if there's a 1-loss Alabama, a 1-loss Georgia, and there's 2 1-loss teams as well to come out of the Pac-12, and then to go along with what happens in the Big 10, the Big 12, and the ACC. I'm telling you, the college football playoff committee is going to have a very, 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 very serious issue on their hands, if that is the case. Now, going back to the Heisman list, though, yes, I have Jordan Travis at number 3, and coming in at number 2, I have Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. And listen, if Washington can somehow go undefeated, knock off USC, and win the Pac-12 championship, listen, Michael Penix Jr. will win the Heisman if Washington goes undefeated. Washington's ranked number 7 right now, and no one's talking about them. But you could very well make the case that they're a top 4 team in the country, and you could very well make the argument they're the best team in the Pac-12. And as I stated yesterday, I believe they're the best team in the Pac-12. They still have the highest rated offense in college football right now. Lead the nation in passing yards. Listen, Michael Penix Jr. is primed to make a Heisman run, and I have him at number 2 on the way too early Heisman list. And coming in at number 1, obviously he's been there all year, is Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams had 6 touchdowns last week against Colorado. USC is ranked number 6, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong on that, one of you guys correct me, please. Number 9, sorry, they're ranked number 9. They dropped down from 8 to 9 after their performance against Colorado. But like I said, listen, I'm still not sold on USC's defense. And what I saw last weekend against Colorado all but pretty much validated my concerns. But the offense is still there's something to be said about the offense, though, in USC, it being led by Caleb Williams. And listen, Caleb Williams is probably gonna be the number one pick in the NFL draft if he decides to leave. But Caleb Williams, we know these awards are all about narrative and storyline and who has the most compelling story, what story can be sold the most to television and things of that nature. And Caleb Williams might not have the best selling story, but listen, USC goes undefeated 2 years in a row, winning the Heisman, maybe getting in the college football playoff. You guys start talking about Caleb Williams maybe being the best college football player ever. That is a very high possibility, and that's the narrative, that's the storyline right there. But obviously, you have to take care of business on the field first. But Caleb Williams has done so as of late. Listen, USC is undefeated so far, and the offense has been productive, efficient. Defense remains to be seen. That will be the calling. That will be, if there's one thing, that will be what holds USC back from making the college football playoff and winning the Pac-12. But as of right now, I have Caleb Williams number one. So to recap the list, I got Bo Nix at 4, Jordan Travis at 3, Michael Penix Jr. at 2, and Caleb Williams at number 1. Let me know what you guys think about my Heisman list. Agree with it, disagree with it, on par, not on par. Should there someone else be on the list? Am I missing somebody? Should Shedeur Sanders be on the list? Should Quinn Ewers be on the list? Should Jackson Dart be on the list from Ole Miss? Let me know what you guys think. Am I missing any running backs, receivers? Should Adonai Mitchell be on the list from Texas? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions on what you guys think about the Heisman list. But as of right now, I still got Caleb Williams at number 1, but Michael Penix Jr. is definitely closing the gap between 1 and 2. Absolutely, in my opinion. No doubt about it. But in our next segment, guys, speaking of Michael Penix Jr., we will be discussing why no one is talking about Washington and the impact they can have on all of college football at the end of the season. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We will be right back. Alright, welcome back. In case you missed the first two segments of our show, we discussed the recent rule changes implemented by the NCAA in regards to the transfer portal and the number of roster spots that Division I programs can have on their for their program each season. And we also discussed the way too early Heisman list and why Caleb Williams is still at number one and why Michael Penix Jr. is quickly closing the gap between the number one spot and the number two spot. But in this segment, guys, we're going to be discussing why no one seems to be talking about Washington, and why Washington can be a legitimate threat to the college football playoff and what that means for the NCAA as a whole. But before we get into any of that, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com. Click on the search bar and typing in GSMC Sports. That we can gain access to all of our exclusive content. And if you like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. StreamElements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. Once again, it's StreamElements.com/GSMC Sports Network/tip. None of this is possible as you guys are fans, so it's an honor and privilege to have this platform and share with you guys my thoughts and my insight on the wonderful world of college football. So with that being said, let's go and get right into it, guys. So obviously, the Washington Huskies are ranked number 7 right now, man. Number 5-0 on the year so far, and no one seems to be talking about them. Not even within their conference, no one's talking about them. Obviously, a lot of the conversations revolved around Colorado and the impact they've had. Oregon, USC, but those might not even be the best teams in the Pac-12. Listen, we still got Oregon State, who I think is either the third or second best team in the Pac-12, and then you still have Washington State as well. It's all they did when they upset Wisconsin earlier in the year. And then we have Washington, led by Michael Penix Jr., who I think is I think Washington's the best team in the Pac-12. And listen, they beat Boise State to open up the year 56-19. They beat Tulsa 43-10. If you're not satisfied with those two teams, well, how about Michigan State? They beat Michigan State 41-7. Still not satisfied with that? Okay, what about Cal? They beat Cal 59-32. Okay, what about Arizona? Okay, they beat Arizona 31-24. And they're off this week, but they have a very huge matchup with major implications on the Pac-12 next weekend when they match up with Oregon. That'll be a huge game for them. So listen. If you're not convinced about what you've seen from Washington so far, just wait another week and a half. Just wait until they play Oregon at 3:30 p.m. on October 14th. The game will be on ABC. Wait till that game comes on if you're not convinced with what you've seen so far, because I think that's going to say a lot, not just about Washington, not just about Oregon, not just about the Pac-12, but also about the state of college football. Listen, Washington goes undefeated. They win the Pac-12, no doubt about it. They're getting a spot in the college football playoff. But with this matchup again, when they match up against Oregon, that game is going to show you that Oregon isn't as good as people think they are, because I don't think they're that good. But it's going to show you that Washington's the best team in the Pac-12. And then if you're not convinced of what they do to Oregon, okay, wait. They still got USC, still got Utah, still got Oregon State, still got Washington State. And that's to close out the year. And if they go undefeated and you still have questions about Washington, I don't know what to tell you. You must not think the Pac-12 is that good. And I understand there's a lot of concern within the Pac-12. This is the first year that they've been good top to bottom as a conference in at least the past since Washington last made the college football playoff in 2017. So I get there might be cause for concern, but listen, as a Alabama enthusiast and an advocate for the SEC, you have to give credit where credit is due. And the Pac-12 has by far in advance been the best conference in college football this year, and Washington has shown to be the best team in the best conference. Are they as good as Georgia? I won't go there yet. Are they as good as Michigan? I won't go there yet. Are they as good as Texas? Maybe. Are they as good as Penn State? It's a possibility. Notice how I didn't say Ohio State. Notice how I didn't say Notre Dame. Notice how I didn't say those other teams. But you guys, guys, people that have been watching the show, you guys know how I feel about Penn State. You guys know how I feel about Texas. Listen, I think Washington State's up there in that sort of area of Texas and Penn State, that sort of area. And the thing is, they have a defense to boot as well. Most people know that Pac-12 teams typically aren't known for their defense, but they've had a commensurate defense so far this year as well. Slightly above average defense. So I just don't see how you can, not give credit to Washington right now. Tied for 29th in defense. So, but that's just me. Let me know what you guys think in the chat room. Let me know what you guys think about Washington. Like I said, once again, that's just my perspective. But to close out our show, guys, we're going to be discussing real quick, just a little quick bit about some fines that have been accumulating in Ole Miss. We'll talk about why. We'll talk about the story behind that at the end of our show. So be sure to stick around for that, guys. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. In case you missed the first couple seconds of our show, we just discussed the recent rule changes implemented by the NCAA in regards to the transfer portal and the number of new roster spots that are the number of new players that programs can bring in at the start of the year. And then we also discussed the way too early Heisman list. I had Caleb Williams at number 1, Michael Penix Jr. at number 2, Jordan Travis at number 3, and Bo Nix at number 4. Let me know what you guys think about that list. Am I way off with that list? Is there someone else that should be on that list? And just share your list as well. Let me know what you guys think in the chat room. Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear it. And then we also discussed Washington, University of Washington, and why I think they're one of the best teams in college football. I think they're the best team in the Pac-12. And though they're ranked number 7, they have a very legitimate chance of making the college football playoff if they can run the gauntlet and go undefeated. And I know a lot of people haven't been impressed with what they've seen so far from Washington. But when they square up against Oregon on October 14th at 3:30 p.m. on ABC, that is going to say a lot about where Washington stands, where Oregon stands, where the Pac-12 stands, and perhaps where college football as a whole stands as well. I'm not saying they're the best team in college football. I'm not saying they're up there with Georgia and Michigan, but I think they're right there with Texas and Penn State. I think they're right there in sort of that 3-4 area as terms of being the best team, 3rd or 4th best team in college football. But let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and how you feel about Washington and where you guys see them being ranked in terms of the best teams in college football. But with that being said, guys, let's go and get right into this last segment, which is a pretty interesting, pretty funny SEC story I just want to cover before we wrap up. And, for those of you who haven't heard, Ole Miss was fined $75,000 for fans throwing debris onto the field. So this was during the 4th quarter of Ole Miss's matchup against LSU, in which they won 55-49. The penalty actually comes in addition to the $100,000 fine levied against Ole Miss by the conference for fans storming the field after the upset victory. And I remember watching this game live and I thought to myself, why are they storming the field for a win like this? Obviously it was an upset. If I'm not mistaken, LSU was ranked number 12 at the time, 15 if I'm not mistaken. If I'm wrong about that one, you guys let me know. But obviously I don't condone debris being thrown onto the field. Obviously that's a huge safety hazard for players and fans in itself, and that's something that needs to be addressed. But in terms of just storming the field, I didn't think that was a win worth storming over. Now, yes, it's a big win for Ole Miss. Perhaps their biggest win for the program since Lane Kiffin has been there. Yeah, perhaps. But I found it interesting watching the game when I saw Ole Miss fans storming the field. And, I wasn't sure if it was worth storming over. I get it's a big win for the program, but I just find it interesting when programs get fined for fans storming the field. 'Cause I just think to myself, listen, that is not going to come out of the program's pockets at all. Boosters are going to pay for that every single time. 'Cause that's just how it is. For those you don't know, boosters play a huge role in funding, legally and illegally, and I say that from personal experience. But I don't know if I'm allowed to share that story. Probably not, but I've got a couple stories involving boosters and financial aid from my time playing collegiate basketball. But that's another story for another day, different sport, anyways. But yeah, I just want to share this story that I found on the internet with you guys in regards to Ole Miss. But let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think about fans storming the field? Is that a no-no? Do you like it? You enjoy it? Is it part of the culture of college football? Let me know what you guys think. But that being said, guys, that is it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful episode. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar and typing in GSMC Sports. If you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/GSMC Sports Network./tip. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out the other shows on the GSMC Sports Network, the GSMC Baseball Podcast, the GSMC Basketball Podcast, GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast, and the GSMC NFL Podcast as well. All of our hosts provide great insight and coverage on the sports that they talk about, and it's an honor and privilege to be working alongside some of the best when it comes to sports media. So, with that being said, guys, we'll be back again same time tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and peace.